welcome back to Georgina Life. From Darkness to Light, an Indigenous Engagement Strategy Conference is happening with Suzanne Smoke. And Suzanne Smoke is here to tell us about this unique, amazing, and much needed conference. Suzanne, thank you very much for coming on Georgina Life to tell us all about it.
Thank you for welcoming me.
I love that, the much needed in your intro, because that in essence is what you were going to be talking about.
Very much. With the response to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission that's just been announced, we have 94 recommendations, and one of those recommendations is that Canadians need to be educated on the history, the true history, and a perspective from First Nations people, and how that systemically has impacted every aspect of our lives, from education to justice to social and health and welfare, and looking at what's happening in our communities, the high suicide rates. What are we doing as a nation, working to collaboratively and together to heal our nations of people? And I think the voices of our elders and our traditional knowledge keepers, that voice has been lost, and that's what we're bringing forward at this conference.
Can you tell us what you're holding?
Sure, yeah. This is an eagle wing from a bald eagle, and it was gifted to me by a very special friend, and he also gifted Cedar the feathers from the same eagle. And it's
Cedar's your daughter.
Cedar is my daughter,
Yes.
And we're both advocates for stopping violence against Indigenous women and girls. Right now we're overrepresented in every aspect of apprehension, jail, suicide rates, dropouts, everything. Like, it's whatever's happening in the history and the healing isn't working for us, and we have to try and integrate this. So this was gifted to us for the work that we do in communities.
The reason that I asked that question, I think it's important because it really is part of the conference, right? It's being able to describe what you're holding today, what you're talking about, beliefs, practices, all of those things play an important role in this conference.
Absolutely. I'm a sacred pipe carrier. I have my bundle. Cedar at 17 years old carries her bundle. So what does that mean to people? And for this conference, it's about engaging people with our pipe carriers, our knowledge keepers, our elders. We're not trying to convert anybody to become Anishinaabe, but we want to be able to help the people that are supposed to be there to help us. If they don't have a knowledge and understanding of our traditional healing practices, how can they help us and integrate that into their toolbox to help us? And it can't be just discredited or put aside as something that's not theirs within their healing toolbox. Our people that are First Nations, Métis, and Inuit are putting a call out for their traditional healers to come into communities. So where's that being funded from, and how is that being brought in and integrated into our healthcare system? And that really needs to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
What can people expect to see at this conference?
It is an engagement strategy. It's open to individuals, organizations, agencies, anybody that works with or has a mandate to do healing work within our communities. Non-Native agencies that are looking to engage, gain some knowledge and understanding in it. Also, one aspect of the healing that we're doing within our community is Little Warrior Sexual Abuse Prevention Strategy and Training, and it's a 3-hour certification workshop that's going to be delivered 3 times during the conference. So anybody that works with children, ECE workers, daycare, anybody that it's not Indigenous specific, and we know that right now 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 6 boys are victims of sexual abuse. So what can we do to combat that? And we wanted to do that balance with Western and traditional knowledge bases.
Those numbers, and we talked about a bunch of different numbers before the show, are staggering.
They're staggering, and we are working with, my daughter actually just did a photo shoot with Aurora York Region Police Vice Squad addressing sex trafficking in this region, which is just, it's disgusting, it's appalling, but we need to talk about it. And I think it was the Standing Committee on Stopping Sex Trafficking in Canada said lack of acknowledgement that there's an actual problem is a big obstacle to stopping this from happening. And we know that 50% of the people that are involved in sex trafficking are under government care. They are part of the apprehension or foster care system. Out of that, 50% are Aboriginal women and girls, and that's staggering. So my girl's a really strong advocate. She's the one that actually voiced that she wanted this conference to happen. People come to her because she has that strong voice, so she wanted to be one of those helpers and part of the solution.
And you said that before, it was 50% of those women or girls that are involved in sex trade are Indigenous women.
Yes,
But
are
they
Indigenous
only
women.
make up 5% of the population.
Less than that, I believe it's 2 to 3% or 3 to 4%. Like, we make up a very small percentage. And I think if we look at the colonial policies that were implemented through residential school and all of those different things, that systemic policies and racism has, and I'm not saying that everyone's a racist, I'm just saying that the whole system didn't come in with a perspective from the First Nations elders and traditional people in healing our nation. So we're using a whole foreign system to try and heal our people when really we really need to get back to the grassroots. And the people that we have coming, we have Hector Kopgog, who's an elder and Medewan Lodge teacher. We have Vicky Meneg from Christian Island, who's a water carrier and a water keeper that speaks to the importance. We all come from the water, and I've talked about that here many times. Our connection to the water, water's healing, water's sacred, water's life. That's where we come from as Indigenous women, and we're the ones that speak to that water. That's an important aspect of everybody's life, not just Indigenous people. So those kinds of things that we want to convey to people. We have a firekeeper in Oshkobeowis. When we're doing that work, Sema, we talk about our sacred tobacco. What does that mean? Well, when we talk about that trauma, we go put that Sema in the fire, and then that trauma in our prayers go to Creator. We don't hold on to that trauma. And so I think that's a different aspect too in healing. Trauma care workers and different people say, tell your story, tell your story, tell your story. And eventually that won't hurt anymore. For us, we're re-traumatizing our helpers. We let it go and we put it in that tobacco.
And that's why this conference is so important.
That's why this conference is so important.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Stick around. Coming up after the break, we are going to be talking about the brain. It's all coming up next.